5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, those listening on the LMC cast, as well as those listening in to RadioSEGA's WinterFest. We are here to invade your airways with a tradition that we've been doing for a few years now, the LMC Game of the Year Awards, basically. I'm joined by my regular and, to be honest, best companions I could ask for this, Turbo.
Greetings, everyone.
And ShadowFox.
Ahoy hoy.
Somehow, despite 2020, we've all managed to play 5 new games this year, or more.
I think this year might have been possibly one of the best and worst years for playing video games.
It's been a mixed bag.
Best for playing, probably not so best for making.
Don't ask. So a few short rules that we will go over when we start. We typically consider our year from December to November because we have to record this sometime in December. So December 2019 is fair game, though I don't think any of us have a game from there, but same will apply for next year's.
It is literally December 1st. We are recording this on the very first of the final month of this year.
This is probably the earliest we've ever recorded it,
I think it is, yeah.
Second rule, no games you've worked on. This only applies to me, and covers anything that Rebellion has made. Key ones being Zombie Army 4, and Switch ports of ZAT and Sniper Elite 4. I'm going to keep it at that very quickly. And the third rule I'm going to include in this one is there's going to be a bit of leeway for next-gen console titles just because not everyone's managed to get their console, whether through their fault or another company's fault. We shall name no names on that one.
Sadly, we do not have bots running to find all the purchases we would like.
And also, fuck scalpers.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll go with that one. If you are a scalper or you are a delivery driver purposely stealing, we hope the full force of the law cripples you, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But with all of the negativity out of the way, let's get on with the positivity. Our top games of the year. We're going to go from north to south in our country, just because it's an easy way to do it. So I will let Turbo start.
Right, cool. Well, this year, for my fifth best title, we're going to go down the list, even though we're starting at the top. We'll have my choice for kind of like an indie game that's not going to be on many people's radar, and it's something that I've been meaning to beat for the longest time, but it only finally got both of its games released on consoles this year, and that was AVGN 1 and 2 Deluxe. The double pack of AVGN Adventures and AVGN 2 Ass Simulation, being able to finally come to consoles after so many years on PC. Not that the first one was not on consoles to begin with. I just never beat this game. Adventures. I never beat Adventures originally when it first came out on the various consoles and whatnot back in the day. But the second one never hit consoles at all, and I was waiting on that for the longest time. But I recently did a full playthrough of the game on its second difficulty, because there's like so many difficulties for it. It's ridiculous. But I was able to beat it. I had a good time. I had fun with all the references that are in it. If you're an AVGN fan, by the way, AVGN stands for Angry Video Game Nerd, if you don't know that terminology. It was just a fun thing to go through and, having a laugh at all these things, dying copious amount of times, obviously, because it's one of those kind of like games where it's like ridiculously hard at points. But overall, all in all, still had a fun time. And I feel as though that's going to be a game that not a lot of people are going remember.
No, I actually ended up watching some AVGN episodes the other day. He's still going. He's been going for years and years now. He's one of the old internet. He's an internet veteran, really, of the video making game.
Indeed.
And yes, I believe Turbo did a live stream of all this, so I'm sure that'll go up on the channel sometime.
Oh, it'll be up on the Last Minute Continued YouTube channel sometime down the line. Whenever that may be, who knows? Just watch the space.
Yeah, a very good decision for number 5. I say I kind of forgot that I remember that was out, and then I kind of forgot for a while that it was coming out. So might go pick up some of that myself.
Yeah, it's worth a shot.
Fair enough. So my number 5 was a game I mentioned on a previous LMC cast. It was made by ex-Bungie developers, Disintegration. It was a bit of an up and down game, admittedly. The multiplayer servers actually got shut down, I think, a couple of weeks back, maybe a week back. It was definitely a game that was kind of like, it had that multiplayer kind of bolted on, but the single player experience was actually something quite nice to play. It was it's sort of like a more direct kind of over-the-top kind of group shooter. So if you think kind of like a Brutal Legend kind of thing, but more like Republic Commando, where it's like you're floating above everything and controlling them rather than... And they're like more jobber.
Oh yeah, no, I know what you mean.
Yeah. It was it was kind of a short, sweet kind of thing, but I feel like we're missing a lot of that kind of sort of shorter, like 10-hour, like sort of C-tier games that, because rather than going all out or being totally indie, it's kind of in that middle ground, sort of not sort of like I'm trying to think of like some other games to kind of compare that era to.
It's just above indie, but not quite into the AA territory or single A territory.
I mean, like I said, I call it like a C, kind of like a CB tier kind of game. I'd say, like, for a reference, like I'd say like a Rebellion is like an A tier in terms of like, you make good games, you do make good quality games, but they don't have that humongous budget that every.
No, I mean we certainly don't have the budget of some of the biggest games in the industry.
No, yeah, but no, it's like that's something that is honestly something we're missing in the industry, is more just not indie, not AAA, just somewhere in the middle. Games that are cheaper and are just kind of their own little experiences in themselves.
It's a B-class game.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with a B. It's a good, still solid grade. It's a good pass.
Still way above shovelware.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so that was number 5. Also, just to reference, these are games that we've played, not necessarily the best games of the...
Yes, we have to... Generally, we say we have to have played them.
Yes.
How much we've played them, I kind of can't quote on that one, but... Cool. So my number 5 is actually one of the bigger titles. Certainly the biggest title from these, because it's the first big-budget Crash game we've had for quite a while. It's brand new, certainly. Crash 4, It's About Time.
It certainly is.
You can definitely tell that the developers have put a lot of like proper care and love into this title, and I certainly can't fault them on that front. It's very well designed. The animations are really nice, as are some of the character kind of just facial structures and all their costumes. Again, lots of love put into it. The base game is decent enough to play. It's when you start getting to the perfectionist levels of stuff that it gets a bit overwhelming. How anyone of a normal gaming degree is expected to do the 104% completion, or even the 100% completion, is beyond me.
I feel like Crash is sticking to its roots there, back in the old style games where they were.
Well, you say that, but the problem is, because it's had a bigger production budget, the levels are much longer. So you've got to maintain those levels of perfection for a lot longer. There's definitely some good stuff in it, but I feel like they went a little bit too far overboard, and it's got a decent amount of replayability. There's a lot of good things about it. There's a lot of bad things about it. It's definitely worth a try. I don't know where I'd suggest paying full price for it, but half price, like anything above £30, $30, around that price, that's easily worth it. But it'll last you a while. But yeah, Crash 4, It's About Time. Really nice game, and the visuals are worth getting it alone.
So I think you went into a lot more detail in a previous LMC cast after you recently got it, didn't you? So
yeah, and very, very much my stance on that still stands. I love the game, but at the same time, there's a lot of things that it could do a lot better, and I think needed to be better balanced a bit. But people are enjoying it, and I do want to see more. I do hope it does well enough that they'll continue doing new stuff with it.
Definitely.
It's kind of like the 3D equivalent of what I've just put in my number 5. Essentially, it's like it's a very challenging game, but it's also kind of rewarding as well because you got so much in it as well, like unlockable costumes.
I will say,
so the replayability is there. So
unlocking some of the costumes feels really good. The problem is the later through the game you go, the kind of cooler some of them get. But how much hard, the last couple of costumes literally require you to get everything. And it's like, well, is it really worth it?
If you're a completionist, then yes.
But I don't think I can do it. I don't think I'm skilled enough to do it. The final, one of the final tapes you have to get is ridiculous because you have to complete one of the longest levels in the game without dying once.
Oof.
Yeah,
and
I'm not gonna touch that one.
It is ridiculously difficult, especially the last section. The last section of that level is ridiculous. But yes, Crash 4, It's About Time is my number 5. Sorry, Dylan.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's reminded me of the hot dog missions in Sonic Unleashed. I don't
hate
those with a passion.
I don't want to even. I knew I wasn't even going to bother trying those because one of those levels I just died over and over again at the same point. But they gave you a life beforehand, so they knew you were going to do it. But yes,
thankfully, that's the one thing that Crash 4 has not got is a life system unless you choose to add it. Otherwise, they just kind of go, nah, don't worry about the lives. We'll just give you a reward if you complete it in less than 3 lives. And then there's a hidden reward for you doing it without losing any lives and getting all the other conditions. It's not worth it.
No, I think it's number 4 time, I think. Moving up the list.
With myself, I will put in another download title. I'm surprised this didn't get a physical release and whatnot. I tended to buy a lot more digital titles than I did physical titles this year. But my number 4 is that of another tie-in game, funnily enough, of Samurai Jack Battle Through Time. And at first, when I tried to play this on the hardest difficulty, when I was someone was persuading me to play it on the hardest difficulty.
Not me this time.
No, it wasn't you. And again, this is another game that I streamed on live on my channel, which is twitch.tv/TurboDrive Live. And on there, it's like I didn't know what the development history for this was, and I found out like after the first session and after dumbing the difficulty down and whatnot, is that this was made by former Team Ninja studio members.
Oh,
that would explain a few things.
Yeah.
I was like, when I saw like the combat style, I was like, okay, this reminds me a bit of something familiar with the weapons and stuff.
Yeah, so when you put fit, I suppose.
Oh yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like you might think it's all with the weaponry and stuff like that. No, it's not the weaponry. It's the difficulty. Because if you put the difficulty up to its max level when you first start off, and there's more difficult levels above that after you beat the game first time around. It's bollocks hard. Like they change how what types of enemies are, and this is like in the first level. Like the first level, like the enemies are the enemy layout is completely different between like the mid difficulty and then the hardest difficulty that's available at that point. So, but other than that, after playing through it, on a difficulty of my skill level for something like that. I did actually enjoy it. I only put it above AVGN because I do have a lot of love for Samurai Jack and the presentation, how they presented the characters in Jack, and going back to previous episodes of the series because it is essentially, it's like the Sonic Generations of the game of this hack and slash genre.
We've had our Jack is back moment. We've had its its mini revival and its like honourable send off and everything.
Yeah, I remember seeing an advert for this game when I was out at PAX East and thinking, hang on, surely this had been out already.
No, because it was last year when they brought back Samurai Jack for the mini episodes or for the mini series.
I didn't realise that.
Well, you say mini series, and it's like it was a full series. It was like a full 13 episode series.
Was it 13
or 12? Well, it wasn't in the same caliber as say a season 1 or 2.
No,
it's like because those episodes, those were like closer to 26 or something like that. A season.
I suppose that we kind of that would be like a half. We kind of consider 13 episodes as sort of like a half season, don't we? Kind of.
Well,
at least we do.
That tends to be the norm nowadays.
Nowadays it is. I guess I used to. Oh wow, season 5 was 2017. Was it really 2017?
Yeah.
That's a lot further back than I thought it was.
Yeah. So, but the production for this game didn't start until probably after that season ended.
No, yeah.
Back in 2017.
Yeah, they would have. So
the game's been in development for probably a few years. So, and it came out this year. So
this has been one that's on my list that I've just not gotten around to trying.
Yeah, it was on my list as well, and I shamefully forgot about it. But it's I'm definitely another one. This one I'm definitely gonna be picking up when I might even. Is it on Steam or is it on?
It is on Steam. It's pretty much on everything.
Yeah.
The only downside is that, and this is a common problem with a lot of my titles that be the case where they're mostly digital titles, and the only way to get them physically is through limited run games. And I'm sorry, but sometimes trying to get anything from them, and me and Josh are definitely victim to this. It takes a bloody long time to get the physical version of this game when the game was released like months ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
I guess we're lucky over here to have some decent internet quality. It's a shame. It's nice to have collectible like physical medias as well.
Yeah, well that's the thing. I'm still of that stickler mindset that I want to have a tangible copy of what I'm playing. Or what I'm watching and whatnot. I don't like. I'm still not used to the digital age. Even though we use it a heck of a lot more now, more than ever.
I'm still okay with it because I know I've got the data on my. It's just in a different physical form. It's still there. As long as it's not cloud gaming. As long as it's not Google Stadia, I'm fine.
Well, we've got Xbox getting into that arena soon. Well, actually, they already have. So. Yes. It's definitely a good choice.
Yeah, it was definitely a good choice. I mean, I'd recommend it if you like hack and slashes and whatnot, and you like Samurai Jack. I'd say give it a shot. It's really worth it. And if you want a challenge, bump that difficulty up because that will put some hairs on your chest.
All right. Well, my number 4 was a game that you couldn't avoid it. It came out at possibly the worst time for all of us, but the most opportune time for itself, and that was Animal Crossing. I mean... Yeah,
beginning of lockdown.
Beginning of lockdown. I mean, what can be said about this game that hasn't pretty much already been said? You had people doing, graduation classes in it, you had weddings, you had parties, teachers were teaching classes through it. For the longest time, it was our social interaction tool. And that didn't... And you know what? That was because it was a damn fun game. If you're the kind of person who just enjoys sort of like that building and like crafting an island of your dreams, there's like enough grind there to like actually be rewarding, and but it's not like overly challenging. It can be a little bit annoying though. There are times when it's like I want my island to have this and be perfect, but I don't have this and I can't get access for this for like another month or so, and it's like
I need oranges.
I need. No, yeah. I mean, I figured like if it's hard to have avoided Animal Crossing, I don't really think I need to say too much about it, to be fair. And they're still updating it. It's still ongoing. There's like farms and stuff now. I haven't actually touched it in a little while. I've been sort of in a rush to kind of catch up and play games for this list, more or less. Two of my still to come are games that I kind of last minute crammed in due to their release schedule, and one because of my willingness to try it out. But I won't stick around on this too much. If you know what Animal Crossing, you know what Animal Crossing is.
Oh god, yeah. I mean, I've never been a fan of the series myself, but that's just me.
No. But yeah, I don't think it's a mystery one to anyone there, and its reasons for being here are quite obvious. So yeah, I will just.
That would be in a lot of people's top lists, if not number ones.
Yeah, quite probably.
Apparently, it's up for Game of the Year, the Video Game Awards. So who knows? It might actually win Game of the Year.
I would like it.
I'd be happy with that.
I would honestly, considering was it going down the first 10 categories? There's 7 different games.
Oh god, yeah.
Yeah, so I will just leave it at that and let Urtheart pick on his number 4.
So my number 4 is one that you all have no excuse to try because it is absolutely free, unless you don't have a PC, I guess. That's probably the only reason you couldn't. And that is Helltaker. Helltaker is a rather nice and cute puzzling game where you have to figure out how to get towards the girls of the underworld and, invite them round for a party, I think. It's a very simplistic and cute story. I actually, to be honest, I first heard about the game through people doing artwork of it, and then realised the game was by someone I followed on YouTube for his animation, which is why I recognise the style so much. But in all honesty, the game is free to play. It won't take you too long. I beat it in about an hour and 20 for the basic ending, and then another 30 minutes for the secret ending. The music is top notch. Sorry, were you about to say something, Shadowfox?
I didn't realise it was that short. I thought it was a bit longer than that, but
it just depends on how good you are at puzzle games. But there is a secret ending which is a little bit more taxing. That might just be because I'm quite a big fan of puzzle games, so I got through it quite quickly.
I'll say that was one of those ones where I just saw lots of artwork for it. I'm still seeing lots of artwork for it. To be fair, people are still drawing things. Many things.
The artist Lucas is someone. He did something I think called Daystone, which was a mini cartoon series about, and this is his quote, Mary Sue Cat. But no, it's a lovely little game, worth giving a try. Even if you don't like it, it's free, it's quite small to install. Give it a shot. The music is really good though. You can pay for the soundtrack. And if you like it, I would advise doing it. There really isn't much more to say to this. The artwork is, if you like the artwork, it is gorgeous. And it's got a good sense of humour. But bear that in mind when you make your choices. So yeah, Helltaker is my number 4.
Time to
Well, let's keep the gravy train rolling as we go into our third
Bronze.
our bronze medals and whatnot. And for me, again, digital title, whatnot. It's like
digital is good this year. Digital is good.
Yeah, digital has been really good for me this year. I mean, it's evident. It has been evident. But this year, it was actually a game that was released on a certain platform last year, but in parts, being that of Shantae and the Seven Sirens, finally getting its console release this year,
and its full release on Apple Watch. The second part didn't come until the full release game came out on other formats.
On Apple Watch.
Yes.
Or Apple Arcade.
Sorry, Apple Arcade.
Okay. I mean, I'm sure you could play. You probably could play it on your watch, but that would be an interesting.
I was gonna say you could. If some developer could do that, put a game on an Apple Watch, by all means.
Shantae does have an exclusive Apple Watch game.
I never heard of this.
It's actually called Bolo something.
Right.
I was expecting it was like a Doom reskin on the watch.
I'm sure someone's got Doom working.
Yeah, I was going to say, can Doom run on Apple Watch?
Yeah.
Easily.
Yes.
Yeah, there's someone
probably has.
Yes.
Anyway, Shantae and the Seven Sirens.
Yes, I was really looking forward to this because it was kind of going back to its roots with, the kind of like dungeon-esque kind of like areas and whatnot.
Dungeon-y.
Yeah. Well, I Metrovania and whatnot. But I did actually have some fun with it. I liked the animations that they had well, they had Studio Trigger do the opening, but they then outsourced the animation for the other cutscenes to another animation studio.
Spending all the big bucks on the trigger.
Yeah, but it's like all the budget went into that opening.
If there's a studio you're going to do to get some good animation out of, you can do a lot worse than Trigger.
Oh yeah,
it kind of suited the frenetic style of it as well.
Well, it does. And it just sparks interest for possibly an animated series, because that's what the whole series is aesthetic in its presentation is that it's almost like a anime style kind of like game at this point with its art style.
Yeah.
But going back to Seven Sirens, I actually did enjoy it. Some people didn't really like it because it was just treading on. It wasn't bringing anything new to the table, or it was like how certain mechanics was just didn't come together correctly. But I didn't see that, and I actually did enjoy it. And again, another thing that I did during the lockdown period, I was doing these kind of like Platinum Pursuit streams where I was going through a game and getting
you tried 100% it.
Oh, wow.
Getting like the 100% kind of like endings and stuff like that. I mean, I bought the game on Switch, but I didn't get the platinum. I don't think.
You have to do the speedrun versions as well.
Yeah. So yeah, it was something nice to go through.
It's definitely the strongest Shantae game we've had since Pirate's Curse. Definitely.
Yeah, I'll say that.
I'm
not entirely sure it beats Pirate's Curse for me.
No, that's what a lot of people have been saying. Oh, it's not Pirate's Curse. It will never be as good as Pirate's Curse, and fair dues, because
fine.
many people, people have their aspects of. Some people who loves Pirate's Curse just don't like the animal transformations, but I feel as though that the animal transformations are a part of Shantae's character. Essentially,
yeah,
so
I agree. I think the part that I'm more disappointed by is I feel the series has strayed away a little bit too far from the dancing and Arabian themes of the game. Mm-hmm. I don't quite get those as strongly as I did with the earlier ones.
Losing the half genie aspect of the
well, you say that, but
it's
still there, and they're trying to build to a more of a lore to it with this game. I'll definitely say that much, because if you play through it and you go through to the end and whatnot, it sows some seeds into future entries. So I really look forward to see what else they can do past Seven Sirens, if we do get something past Seven Sirens. So.
I'm sure we will. I think it's done fairly well, but we'll have to wait and see, won't we?
I will have to get into Shantae properly at some point, because it's one of those ones that you've informed me about. I even kickstarted it, and I kind of played a little bit, but I just never sat down and really went for it. I think that's what I need sometimes, just to get into a game, is to just sit down and really go for it.
No, that's fair. I mean, this was in my shortlist. It made number 8. Again, I feel the lack of the Arabian theme kind of flattened it a bit for me, but it was definitely an enjoyable game. I don't regret buying it twice, technically. Just waiting for my second copy.
Same here.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, Shantae and the Seven Sirens is your bronze medal then.
Indeed it is. So John, what's yours?
My bronze medal is a game that has probably elevated my sort of like standards for any kind of roguelike, or any first person shooter roguelike at least. And that is BPM, bullets per minute. Again, this is another one we, myself and Urtheart, talked a lot about on one of the LMC casts shortly after pretty much the month of arrival. So that's an easy one to locate. It's the gameplay itself. It's fast paced. It's so many like games you like this. Like you think like a first person shooter roguelike, you can sit back, you can shoot them, but no, you got to keep on that beat. If you're not on that beat, you're losing points. You might even take damage, because if you miss a dodge at the wrong time, you get hit. And I tried playing what was it, the one you bought me, Gunfire Reborn,
Yes.
which is that early
And you
access
keep
one.
trying to dodge to the time of the beat.
Yeah, like that game again. It feels good, but it doesn't feel as good as BPM.
No, I agree. I think there's a little bit more to Gunfire Reborn. This isn't on our list because it's a 4-player co-op game. But it's also not finished yet. It's still in early access. BPM is fully released, if I'm correct.
It is a fully released game. It's I would say that it's cheap. It's absolutely worth the money, and it's kind of like the structure is there for the game. It has 5 different characters who have slight variations in how they play, or at least how they start anyway, with the guns.
They start. It's only the final character. No, the final 2 characters that have major differences in gameplay.
Yeah, the final 2 characters are the ones with the most.
Screw the last one.
Yeah, I have never completed a single run with the last character who cannot take a single hit.
Unless you get the one more life.
Yeah, unless you get but I think after playing a little bit more, like there's a little bit more variation of depending on what kind of power ups you get, you can kind of go, all right, how am I playing this? Am I playing this more health regen-y, or am I just going for pure damage? What's my plan for that? But yeah, I mean, it's the fast action of it. The music, you can buy the soundtrack. I bought the soundtrack. The soundtrack's great. It's like, as I said before,
it is a music rhythm game. The soundtrack is one of the things that are important to it and would make or break it, and it thankfully makes it.
Yeah, and as I think we said with that, it has the option for different soundtracks in the future, different challenges, even different characters. There is a lot more that can come from this game, and I really, really hope it expands beyond. I would say watch some trailer, watch some gameplay. If you like anything rhythm-based, it's absolutely worth picking up. I would definitely say worthy of my number 3 place.
It was definitely something that piqued my interest at one point, but I never got around to playing it. I think once I get my new rig, I do plan on getting a new rig for my streams and stuff like that, and also for having something that's not over 5 years old anymore.
I'm sitting on an 8-year-old PC right now. So.
Yeah, actually, BPM has quite low-ish requirements, and I think they do that via the stylization.
Yeah,
which is quite nice.
You might have going into the settings. It might be worth making some adjustments to the.
Well, unless he gets it on his new PC, and then he'll be fine.
Well, no, I mean, even then, you can reduce the because the levels can be oversaturated and stuff.
Yeah, it depends on depends on your screens, definitely.
Well, it depends on your screen and your eyes, because that's the only thing. It can sometimes be a little bit visually confusing or offensive, or definitely overwhelming. But yeah,
it's still a good game.
Still a good game, very good.
Yeah, I'm one for rhythm games and whatnot. I mean, these kind of offshoot rhythm games like Boats Per Minute and
Crypt of the Necrodancer,
Cadence of Hyrule, and stuff like that.
Still
those kind of games.
Cadence of Hyrule, I really need to get around to that at some point.
I know. We own Crypt. I know we both played a lot of Crypt of the Necrodancer, and that's
we got it quite early access as well.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, so it's I've always been missing out on those things because I can never find the time for them. But hopefully sometime down the line I'll get to them someday. But that was one on the docket that I really wanted to get a chance for. Shame I missed out on it. But anyway.
Well, you still got the future to play it.
It's not going away.
You might get the improved version. We'll see. Well, let's stick with the shooters then, because I've noticed there's a lot of 4-numbered sequels that come out this year. This one's no different. I've been waiting for this one for quite a while. Serious Sam 4. Again, if you've listened to the LMC cast, you'll know that I genuinely love this one. Whether it make my game of the year or not, whether it tops my previous favourite Serious Sam, is still a little bit in debate. It's obviously not topped my list this year, but it's definitely. I mean, it is what you know and love. More Serious Sam. What more could you want? Well, they've added a few little things in there to help it. So, all of the kind of original weapons either have, little tweaks to them or something extra that has been added to them as a secondary fire mode. So to take one of the earlier ones for an example, the shotgun can have a grenade launcher attached to it. Fairly basic. But then you get the rocket launcher, and what they do is they give it a mod where instead of you just firing the rocket, you can hold down to release a homing version of the rocket, and you can charge it so it fires up to 5 rockets at once, which is very good against some of the bigger enemies.
So it's just a screen clearer.
Depends on the enemies. The problem is because it's homing on a particular enemy, if that enemy then dies, it then kind of goes into drunk missile mode.
Or does it not require?
No, but if you've got some... Because the thing is, like, some of the bigger enemies, like the giant red biomechs, take exactly 5 missiles pretty much to take down.
How convenient.
Well, this is the thing. They've purposely designed it that way, I'm sure. But there's other little perks you can do. You can dual wield pretty much any weapons in the game. Which, if you want to dual wield your miniguns, go ahead. Just don't expect the ammo to last. And then there's other smaller features, like part of the way you do dual wielding and other abilities is they've got a new perk system kind of thing, where you get items in the environment that allow you to then have a skill point you put in something. It does feel like they've borrowed elements quite heavily from, certain other FPSs that have been popular along the last few years, but they do a good job of integrating it without overwhelming the player. One of the other really good things is all the optional missions they add. There are optional side missions that they tell you what the reward is for you doing it, and they are just more of what you want to be doing, shooting stuff, but they have either a higher challenge rating or slightly twisty objectives. One of the ones they do a couple of times is these giant portals that you need to hit buttons round. You technically don't have to kill the enemies for those buttons to come up, but the longer you leave it, the more enemies are going to appear, and you're just going to get a bit drowned. But it does a very good job of balancing all that out. So Serious Sam 4 gets in at my number 3, it gets the bronze medal. I was hoping it would be a bit higher up, but to be fair, Serious Sam 4 is one of those games where it's a comfort food. I love it, it's not perfect, but I will happily go back to it whenever, wherever, I'll happily play it.
Which was the one that we played together, we went through?
Ooh, that's a good question. Probably Second Encounter, I'd say.
I think that sounds about right, yeah.
The big ones are First Encounter, Second Encounter, Serious Sam 3 BFE, which might have been the one, but I'm not sure.
I don't think it was that. I think it was Second Encounter.
Second Encounter sounds right. That Second Encounter is still probably my favourite one. I will say the one thing Serious Sam 4 does very well is it takes you through a good variety of environments. You start out in Italy, in kind of buildings and that kind of stuff. You then go to France in some big open fields. It gets very green for a bit. And then you end up in icy places for some reason. And I will say I love the music on the final level. It's a bit of a remix from the Second Encounter, which helps, but it's got some lovely original stuff in it as well.
Every game needs an ice level.
Yeah, unfortunately. This one has you stuck in ice with an abandoned ship in the middle of it. Go figure.
Go figure.
So yes, number 3, Serious Sam 4.
So, 2 remain on the list.
Silver medals.
And you were just saying about Serious Sam 4 being that kind of like junk food that you can accept and just like gouge on and enjoy very well.
Whenever you want.
Yeah, aye. It's like mine for this year was that of a regular kind of like franchise that is very synonymous, and that being of Resident Evil 3.
Ah, yes.
So a lot of people dunked on this game. Like, so after the success of Resident Evil 2 and how impressive that was to a lot of people, and myself included, I thought that was the best remake that they could have had for that game in this day and age.
Resi 2 won one of your gold awards in previous
years. Indeed, it did. Indeed, that was for 2019, I believe. So, this time around, a lot of people were just dunking on it because A, it wasn't done by the same guys who did number 2, and B, it was kind of tied on with the multiplayer Resident Evil game.
Yes, Resident Evil Dead by Daylight.
Essentially, yeah. Well, that's not its official name. No. It's Resident Evil Resistance.
That was it, yeah.
Yeah.
Not the Umbrella Chronicles one. That was a different thing, wasn't it?
That was a light
That was
gun
completely
game,
different. It? Yeah, it was.
I'm sure there was like an Umbrella like multiplayer thing as well.
Umbrella Corp.
That's it.
Which was a very, very shite kind of like first person esports type of game. It just did not fly.
Capcom seemed to be Capcom were like a pendulum. They're either doing something absolutely amazing, or they're releasing Street Fighter. Was it 6 or 5 that was the bad one that came out with, or Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite?
Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite is what you're thinking about.
No, well, granted, again, those weren't really good in the presentation. Well, for Infinite, it was the presentation wise. For 5, Street Fighter 5, it was the gameplay wise. But eventually, over time, like
they've been hitting Resident Evil out of the park recently, I think.
They have been, and of course we've got Resident Evil 8 on the way next year.
Really?
But to tie us over, we had Resident Evil 3 being remade, and a lot of people were dunking on this and saying that it's a terrible remake. It just cut out so many things and whatnot. But yet people fail to remember, look back on this release. This game added a few things. Like, it added in new areas that were not in the original game. They took stuff out, but they replaced it with other things. Granted, there were key moments in there that was missing, fair dues, and the encounters with Nemesis isn't as memorable as what they were in the original release. But here's the thing. The original release was called Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. This is just simply called Resident Evil 3. So the factor is that, fine, Nemesis isn't the key factor in this, even though he is all over the marketing and all that. But besides the point, it does actually have so many things. Yes, it took out mercenaries, but here's multitudes, like so many different difficulties to go through the game again. Here's all these collectibles. Here's all this, that, and the next thing. It's like it has more. Or it has as much as what the original had, and I did a complete Platinum Pursuit playthrough on my Twitch channel this year as well. Again, something to keep me going through lockdown. I got myself the collector's edition of the game with the big box to go along with the second game's collector's edition, because it's essentially the same kind of like thing. Minus a couple of items from it, and I feel as though a bit gypped on that. But other than that, I had an enjoyable time with Resident Evil 3. I had a lot of fun with it.
It sounds more like more of like a recreation than a remake or a remaster.
Yeah, it's a reimagining of the story,
and to be fair, that's what Resident 2 was as well.
Yeah, essentially, Resident Evil 2 took the base storyline and they reimagined it in a way where obviously it incorporates a different storyline. Like for the original Resident Evil 2, it had multitude of outcomes depending on how you played it. But in Resident Evil 2 in 2019, it has one continuous storyline. Like it has one storyline and that's it. There's no split timeline theory this time around. They actually canonicalize what the story is in the world, and granted that was already a factor when Resident Evil 6 came around. So yeah, it was just they tried to make they made it sure that is the canonical story going forward no matter what. And but going back to Resident Evil 3, I absolutely loved it. Fantastic game. Definitely a game that I put in high regard, regardless of the multitude of flack that it gets, because I still enjoyed it.
A sequel.
So yeah, moving forward.
It's a sequel to a remake. My game is also a sequel. My number 2 is the second. Doesn't have a number in the title though. It was Ori and the Will of the Wisps. which the original one was on the Xbox. I think at first it was on the Xbox, and then it came to PC. And
yes,
this one, I picked it up, but I picked it up literally 2-3 days ago, and because I really wanted to play it, because I really wanted to get it on this list, and I don't know how far through it, but it's very much like the first one, and in that it's a beautiful game. I don't know what I would kind of use to describe it. It's a Metroidvania where you kind of you unlock more of the map by acquiring new skills, and you get to a new area. But the level design in the way it's they'll make it so it's one way there, you get the thing, then you can get back. But it's also there's nice loops, so you're never kind of just entirely backtracking. And the fact that it's just visually so beautiful. It has even though it's there's models and stuff, they all look like watercolors. It looks like an entirely watercolored game.
The original Ori was a beautiful game.
It was. It's just more beautifulness. It's the story is there as well. It's kind of it's a quite nice narrative going throughout the thing. The characters are all so weird looking as well. I've met a toad that's as big as a wolf, and I've got meerkat kind of lemur creatures that are the size of me, but they're therefore a tenth of the size of a toad. But it's just so whimsical as well. You've got that fantasy and just going through, and it's another of those platformers that's just so nice to look at, just so nice to play, and it has some really great set pieces as well. Platformers with set pieces, that's something that is you kind of think of that more in a action 3D kind of game, don't you? You're parkouring through things. But here I was running away from basically do you remember the cut content from Metal Gear Solid 2 where Snake runs through the sinking tanker?
Oh yeah. I know which one you mean.
It's essentially I'm doing that. There's water just chasing after me, and it's right, I've got to jump, I've got to dash, I've got to use my other skill to do this, I've got to grapple onto this.
Not through a tanker.
Not through a tanker, no. Through a woods with lots of thorns and gaps and other things. But it's I feel like I'm actually rushing away. I feel like I'm actually in danger while I'm running away, because I am. If I mess up, I am going to get caught by the water and I'm going to get taken away. But again, it's it has that pacing where it's you can kind of just go through and you're just kind of strolling through the environments, and then you have these moments where it's right, jump, grab, grapple, bounce, do this, dash, and it flows. It looks beautiful, and it's another one of those ones where it's just try it for yourself, do it. It's number 2 for a reason. Beats out BPM for me for being a more complete game.
No, that's fair. This is on my... I did enjoy the original Ori. I don't think I was quite as mystified by it as many people were, but I definitely enjoyed the original Ori. So this is one I want to give a try, but it's not been massive on my priority list. You ever played this?
Sadly, it's not a game. Nah. Sadly, it's not a game for me. Sadly, it never sparked my interest. It's beautiful. Granted, I'll give it that. But sadly, it's just not. It's the same as Hollow Knight. I can't get invested into it, sadly.
I played Hollow Knight too late for it to get into any lists, but genuinely love Hollow Knight now.
Yeah, this is actually very kind of similar to a Hollow Knight kind of style of game, so...
Cool. Well, my number 2 and my silver medal is going to be kept very short because we've already heard enough about it, I think, and that is BPM bullets per minute. I think I enjoyed this one just a little bit more than ShadowFox, but then again, this mixes kind of 3 of my favourite genres into quite literally a perfect blend. I'm a sucker for rhythm games. I love. I've done music in the past, so this just suited that. I'm a big fan of Binding of Isaac, and I love my first-person shooters. What more could you ask for? The game's not perfect. There's a few things I would like to see change, but in general, yeah, the soundtrack makes this one just edge out so much.
The key things that it needed to hit were hit perfectly. So
yeah, I've spoken to some other people about this. There's a few things that I think they do need to really patch in. One of the big ones being some way to sync music and visuals up, which is something you'll notice in both Crypto, Necrodancer, and Cadence of Hyrule, is they'll try and accommodate for video and audio lag through your devices. And that is something BPM really needs to do. But overall, it is a very good package. If you can get it, I would genuinely recommend it.
So, final stretch.
Yes, so before we go on to the finals, we'll just say we are going to do a follow-up episode with this. We're doing a little bit quicker of an episode this time. Normally we'd go to like an hour and a half, but our time slot for Radio Sega is a little bit shorter this year, so we're going to keep this one to an hour, and then we're going to do a follow-up with our runners-up and honourable mentions in a future LMC cast. So tune in for that.
I'll say the sooner we get through this, the sooner you can go out and get these games digitally and try them out for yourselves. So I think Turbo, let's just start rolling right in.
What is your gold medal award?
Well, what the gold goes to, I think a lot of the Sega listeners listening to this will be very happy with my number one. It is that of possibly the greatest return in all of gaming this year. It has to be Streets of Rage 4. I cannot give this game any more of a higher adulation of a long-awaited return that is for a series that has been so dormant for years and years and years and years, decades even, and be able to come back full pelt with a brand new presentation, great soundtrack, multitude of characters,
beautiful visuals,
brilliant visuals, tons of unlocks. Harking back to previous entries, all 3 entries prior to it, and overall just being a badass game. Is absolutely great.
Over 15 years since 3.
Yeah, so a decade and a half. And it's just got so much to it. Granted, I've only beaten it once, and I've yet to unlock all the kind of like unlockables and whatnot, because
I only know
various
one
other
person
things.
that's A, beaten it multiple times, and B, beaten it on the hardest difficulty.
Yeah, but I don't plan on doing that anytime soon.
I'm not that good.
But the just the love for it was just so good.
Oh God,
and
yeah.
it's like and this is done by the same studio makers for Wonder Boy and the Dragon's Trap, I believe it was.
Yes, I believe that's the one.
Yeah. So really, in all honesty, it's like the art was there, everything was there. It's like, and now I'm just holding out for something else, and so, what can we get after this? What can we get from these guys?
Well, they are working on DLC. We know that.
All right. Well, that's what I'm looking. Well, I'll be definitely looking forward to that
So
going next into next year.
I
I didn't know that.
No.
I didn't.
Oh,
I've been on the lowdown. I've been busy with so many other things going on in my life. So.
No, they did announce they're working on DLC for this, I believe, and certainly looking forward to that. I must admit, this didn't make my top 5, but that's purely because I'm not a fan of the genre. I love the game still. It's definitely like one of my favourites of the beat 'em up genres. I absolutely love the visuals. Yeah, it's just I'm not a big beat 'em up fan, hence why it came a little lower.
I'm just surprised that not many. It's not been nominated by many kind of like video game awards.
That's a popularity contest. I wouldn't worry too much about that.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it in one of the categories. I think I put a vote down for it. So fingers crossed.
Yeah. But no, definitely my game of the year. Streets of Rage 4. Definitely a pickup.
So, what's old is new, as is the case with mine, though it didn't quite die out at any point. Neither did either of these games. That would be Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity. It's so I was never a Zelda fan. Growing up, I didn't have a Nintendo. I was a Sega kid. I'm sure people here can agree with me.
Well, I suppose people on Radio Sega would.
I think they would, yeah. But I got a Switch this year. I got Breath of the Wild this year, and I was like, wow, this is a fun game. I'm interested in knowing what happens next, because this is like the first Zelda game I've really properly played and enjoyed. I played some before, but this was like the first one I actually got sucked into. And I mean, I've loved Hyrule Warriors since like 3. And I mean, honestly, Nintendo handing out their franchises isn't a thing you see.
No, certainly not.
Very not. And for a game like this to come out and be like, wow, I think it's the best-selling Warriors game of the entire series, of any of them. Or at least, or maybe the fastest in the shortest amount of time, or something like that.
I think it'd be faster because you've still got the previous Hyrule Warriors.
Yeah,
which
that's
had
true.
like 3 re-releases.
Yeah, that's true. I think it might be like the fastest selling X amount of units or something. But no, yeah, I mean, I think I've sunk about 16 hours into that so far, and I'm not near the end yet. I'm kind of doing like a first run through, almost completionist, hitting up all the side missions, completing all the bits and bobs. It's quite interesting because you've got like all the different characters, or at least all the main characters. You've got the champions, you've got some other secret characters who I'm not going to necessarily say. You got Link, you got Zelda, you got Impa, the expected ones. Link himself has 3 different combat styles for different weapons.
Yeah, similar to his stuff in the previous Hyrule Wars as well.
Yeah, and like Link, Link has definitely been like my favourite combat style. Because you also get the use of the Sheikah Slate, so you get the special abilities that everyone has access to now as well. And those are varied for each character in a slightly different style. The only downside I've found to it is that some of the fighters, it's like, obviously, they're not all actual fighters. Like Zelda isn't a fighter, and some of the others aren't, so their combat and combos are a little different. But Rivali, one of the actual champions, I just don't like his combat style. And that's always a shame, because I try and like even out my playstyle through all of them.
Well, he is a bit of a dick anyway. So
oh my god! Every time he speaks, I just want to hit him.
It wasn't until you said he was a dick that I remembered which character it was.
Yeah, let's just say he's a bird.
He's the Falco of the Zelda universe.
He's the Falco of Zelda ever, or I would hesitate to say maybe the Ein of ours. the bird boy with a little bit of too much overconfidence sometimes. How many times have you heard him say, haha, you can't catch me in Dead by Daylight, only to immediately just fall down? But yes, it's a good game. It's definitely my most played game of this year, probably, at least in terms of games that aren't live service games that I've constantly gone back to, yada, yada, yada. But, yeah, so my number 1, gold medal, congratulations, Hyrule Warriors.
No, that's another one on my to maybe list, but I've not touched my Switch that much this year just because I've not had to travel that much. So,
and I'm currently going through it live on my channel.
Yeah.
If you want to watch it just now, it's on twitch.tv/TurboDrive Live. The schedule's there. You know where to find me.
Maybe not when this has gone out. You might have finished it by then.
Oh, I don't know.
Well, true, actually.
I'm taking my time.
If it's as long as the previous Hyrule Warrior game, you'll be there for another 4 or 5 months.
Are you doing a completionist run for it?
No, I'm not doing a
completionist run. Then it'll probably be a bit quicker then, yeah.
So, to finish off, my number 1. This is probably one of the bigger games this year, but was one of the earlier ones this year, but I don't think many people can fault it, and it's traditionally, I've always had one remake or remaster on my list. This is technically it, but I think it's a bit of an insult to just call it a remaster, because it is a literally from the ground remake, and that is Final Fantasy VII Remake.
/ reimagining.
Oh, yeah. Well, and also it's only, the first 10th of the game, possibly.
Though, from what I've heard, it could basically change the outcome of the entire rest of the game anyway. So.
Oh god, yeah. But the short version is it's a complete redesign in terms of the combat system, to a certain extent the story, obviously the visuals.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I think it's all the better for it. It's definitely, for me, the change in combat style gives it a different feel to the original that makes it worth playing, whether you're a fan of the original or not. There's a lot of nods for original fans, including some of the weapons that you can get through the game, some of the nods here and there, and some of the foreshadowing for future events. The game isn't perfect, but it's as close to perfect as I think it could really get. Honestly, the game floored me with how well it was done, and there's a lot of extra stuff that you can go back and do if you really enjoy it. Just to name a few, trying to figure out how to get all of the characters' different dresses to get into the sneaking mission, let's say. And that includes Cloud's dresses. I'll let you guys decide on that one yourselves.
I've seen some cutscenes, yeah.
And I actually really like the way they've redone that as well, because they've actually changed how the girls get their dresses completely, and also Cloud. And I think they do a much better job with it. I will say the rhythm game is a little bit weird, but it also kind of works. Yeah, it's a absolutely beautiful game. It goes on quite heavy discounts already, but it is well worth pick up if you enjoy either the type of game it is, or you just enjoy Final Fantasy. Especially if you're a big fan of the original. Final Fantasy VII, I'm looking forward to the other installments in 2 to 3 years' time, but Final Fantasy VII Remake is definitely worth your time.
I'll say I never played the original, and I haven't played this one yet, but it might be interesting to maybe do a side by side, like do one, like see what happens, like play them, like alternate between them, but getting to the same sort of point.
The problem with that will be is they've added massive new chunks to it.
Yeah, that's true.
So there'll be times when the original is just a black screen. It's like, here's a whole another 4 to 5 hour section that doesn't exist in the original.
That's why you do it. That's why you do like get 2 points where you can cut it off.
Admittedly, though, they have changed some plot points as well, which I'm interested to see where those go.
Ah.
But yes, that is our awards for the year, basically. It's been an interesting year, 2020, I think is the best way to put it.
Oh yeah, interesting is probably the key word.
Yes, it's the word I would definitely use for a family-friendly radio show.
I think we've sworn enough.
No, I already broke that ages ago, so too late.
But here's the thing, though. It's definitely been one of those years where I think, and I'm going to kind of close off with saying games have been a very important thing for a lot of people this year, whether it be, for the comfort of or just, keeping yourselves entertained or somewhat sane, even to the point where a lot of people are just making sure that they're connecting with each other over games. As much as we may ridicule Fortnite, there's no denying that a lot of kids have managed to stay in touch with their friends through stuff like Fortnite. I think 2020, as terrible as the year may have been, I think we can all say that games have quite literally been a lifesaver for many people. And, if you can give that gift to someone, either gift a friend or even just call up a friend and ask, hey, do you want a couple of matches of a game we used to play? Assuming you still can. Do try and get in touch with them this holiday season, because now more than ever some people may need it.
I agree. Christmas and generally end of the year entirely is all for getting reconnected, or just making sure everyone is okay. Do to them as you would wish them do to you. Indeed.
Everyone should be careful and safe during this time. I mean, we're still not out of the thick of it, but here's the thing. If we just, take care of each other, watch over each other, and make sure that we're all nice and sane during these troubling times by just simply playing, a simple calming game. And that's what, some of these games can do. I mean, there's plenty of recommendations for games to allow people to come together and just, have a good chat and whatnot. And that is the key to keeping ourselves, sensible in this time.
So from all of us here, and from both from myself, ShadowFox, and Turbo, we all hope you have a safe and very good holiday season.
Bye-bye.
See you later.